In this video, we're going to take a look at the laser picture strategy within Vectric Spark. You'll notice that I've already got an imported source image, and I'm going to go through and show you how you can use the inbuilt strategy to create some really photorealistic and also artistic laser engravings using this strategy. So after you've first imported your bitmap image by going to File and then Import, this will then be brought into the workspace, and we can access the laser picture strategy by clicking on the expand button on the right hand side to load into the Toolpaths pane. Toolpath list as ever at the top, and as we haven't got any created in this job yet, that is currently blank. So the first tab is the Create Toolpaths tab, and this is where you can find all of your laser strategies towards the right of the Toolpath strategies listed. And you'll see that the third in from the right is the laser picture toolpath. So we can single left click to open into the form, and we'll just take a moment to go through the form in its entirety from start to finish, because it can look a little bit daunting at first, but everything serves a purpose and we'll go through and explain. So under the heading, the first thing that you'll come to in the list is the tool selection. So like other toolpath strategies, we've got a select and an edit button. If we start with select, this will open into the main tool database. Now, as this is a laser specific strategy, you can only use laser tools because standard physical tools won't work with these strategies. So for this reason, you will only see laser tools listed. The software does ship with some default basic laser tool settings, but you can add these very quickly and easily by using the Add Tool button, as you would with other tools, and then you can select Laser Cutter from the tool type drop-down. Again, because I've accessed the tool database from the laser picture strategy in this case, it's only allowing me to create a laser tool type. So I don't need that demonstration example, so we'll just delete that and take a look at an existing tool that I've already set up that I know is suitable for the machine I'm using and the material that I'm going to be burning this on. When you click on the laser tool, you'll see that there are various settings here. So for a full walkthrough of these settings, please do give our laser cut and fill tutorial a watch, which is available in the related video section to this one. So because I've already gone through and run test cuts to ensure that these settings are correct, I'm happy that I don't need to do anything with those, so I can just close out the form and we can take a look at the other option, edit. So whereas select will open into the main tool database and any changes you make within there will be applied to the save tool, edit instead will only apply to the current toolpath that you're working on. So if you make any changes to these parameters through the edit button, the saved tool in the database will remain unchanged. And this is a really powerful feature because it means I can just go through, make quick changes on the fly and set up different toolpaths with different settings without interfering with the saved tool data. So that's how we can select the tool. And now we can move on to the next section of the form, which starts off with a related pair of settings, the maximum and minimum power settings. So these relate directly to the contrast of the image you're working on. So the maximum power will be the power percentage used for the darkest areas of the image, and the minimum power will be how low you'd like the power setting to go for the lightest areas of the image. So this is like a scale from the darkest to the lightest areas of the image you're using. So for different contrast images, you may like to set different max and minimum power settings. Another use case for doing this may be at given move speeds, the maximum power for your setup may be too much for the material and you're ending up with overburn. In this case, you can reduce the max power, and for the minimum power, if you find anything under, say, 5% power on your add-on diode laser head barely touches the material, you can choose to set a minimum power setting, so 8% for example. Moving on down, we've got the move speed. So this is the feed rate for the toolpath, and this is actually taken from the saved tool settings. So if we click on edit again, you'll see that I've already got my move speed selected there, and that's pulled through into the form. So that's really great. It means that you can save away laser tool settings that you know are appropriate for your setup, and it will automatically populate those into the parameters within the toolpath form. You'll see as well that if we try and enter 0 or nil, the software will actually prompt you to say that the move speed must be greater than 0. This is just to protect against any potential machining issues to stop it from creating a hazardous toolpath. So these initial 3 settings are all interrelated really, and depending on the move speed, you may need to tweak the maximum and minimum power settings. So it really is recommended to go through and run a series of test cuts just to get a good feel for your setup and the materials you're using and hone in those settings for various job types. Underneath the move speed, we've got the Overscan. So the Overscan ensures that the toolpath moves past the hard boundary, the edge of the image that you're toolpathing. And this is actually to mitigate for the acceleration settings of your machine. So if it's coming up to the edge of a toolpath and the machine decelerates too much, anticipating the change in direction, this can lead to areas where the tool dwells, and depending on the power setting, this can cause overburn. So this just protects against that by moving the toolpath past this hard boundary. So you'll see in my source image here, I've got a very hard boundary there. The laser power would be very low in this area because it's light. But for example, in the bottom left here, we've got an area on his jacket where the laser tool will be close to our maximum power setting. So in this area, it would just ensure that the toolpath overscans by the set percentage to push the area in which the machine decelerates further past the image. On the overscan areas, the laser tool's switched off so that the burn result doesn't change at all. It just means that the slowdown, the deceleration happens outside of the image. So that covers the power, speed and overscan settings, and now we can move on to the next section of the form, which dictates the strategy type we're using within the laser picture strategy. Okay, so these different strategies are essentially just different styles of how you would like the laser picture to look. So the first one you'll see is the raster fill. Now the raster fill is essentially a single set of parallel lines or stripes across the whole of the image. And this is pointed to by the icon that you can see to the right of this here, just demonstrating that. The cross hatch fill, instead of just using the single set of parallel lines across the whole image, also has a second set which hatches it in the opposite direction, so a 90-degree opposite set of lines. And because these two are related, we'll just come back to the Use Selected Vectors option after going through the different settings which apply to all three. So the first is the line spacing. And this is fairly self-explanatory, but it is literally the distance between the burn lines. The line angle is the angle at which those parallel lines are going to be burnt across the image. So just as a quick example, we'll use our source image here, and I'm just going to use settings that I've used in the past that I know work well. I'll just make sure that I've switched to the raster fill, and we'll just explain this with the single set of lines. So we'll click calculate, and you can see that that has just created a single set of 45-degree lines across the whole image, which varies the laser power, as you can see in these darker areas, from the maximum burn power that you've got set to the minimum that you see represented by the lighter blue areas. And we can go ahead and preview that now. Just click into the preview settings quickly. For the laser toolpathing, it is recommended to use the higher preview qualities because being the laser tool curve, there can be very thin burn lines, so you want all the pixels available to you. And we'll just run that quickly. And in this case, you can see that that's actually incredibly light on detail. So it just highlights the importance of running tests and how this can vary between the images you're burning and the materials. So I'll just lower that gap between the lines and we'll preview that again. Reset and click preview. And you can see there with the closer line spacing, we've got a much clearer result with the single set of parallel 45-degree angle raster lines. So if we just click reset preview, and we'll just take a look at the hatch option, which again is related to the normal raster. but we've got two sets here. So we'll choose the crosshatch instead. We'll use the same line spacing because that will just highlight the difference between the two, and click calculate again. And one thing about this strategy, because it is essentially double the amount of toolpathing in the same area, is it is going to be denser. So you'll see that first one's completed, and then it comes back in the opposite direction to create a 90-degree effect. And you can see that it does create a really nice texture, really. Okay, so I'd be really happy to see that coming off the machine looking like that. And we'll open back up into the form to have a look at another setting that relates to both the raster and crosshatch fill. And that's the Dither Image. So in its default unchecked state, power scaling will occur evenly in response to the colour values. In some materials though, smaller changes in power levels aren't perceived in the actual burn result. So it can sometimes either be burn or not, on or off. So to assist with that, there's another option called Dither Image for both the raster and crosshatch fill. And what that does is essentially it creates an area of tonal range using very small black dots. So it would dither over a certain distance, switching the laser on and off rapidly to create a tonal difference by how sparsely or densely they're packed together. Bit like a half-toner or the dot matrix for newspaper printing, for example. So we'll test that now, first using the raster fill, and we'll make sure Dither Image is on. Click calculate again, and there you can see these individual areas have been created. And we'll just preview that now. So we can see the darker areas include much more densely packed laser burns, and the lighter areas are much sparser. And then if we just go back in and we'll try this on the crosshatch fill and see what it does to this. And again, that's a lot denser, so you're getting a more severe image, but some great detail in that. Okay, so we'll just reset the preview. And we'll just take a look at the other option that we said we were going to look at later, which is the Use Selected Vectors option. So this actually allows you to select a set of existing vectors to use as the toolpath pattern for your strategy. So you'll see I've already got another layer here set to invisible. If I just switch that on, all I've got here is just some concentric circles. So I've created the largest circle and then just offset these inward until it reaches a very small point in the center there. If you'd like to learn more about the offsetting tool in the software, please just head over to the support section of our website and look at the vector drawing tutorial playlist, and you'll find the offsetting guide there, which will walk you through how to do this. But for now, I'm just going to select these vectors together and we'll click calculate. And you can see now that it's created the laser picture path using those vectors as the path. So this is in place of the angled lines in the raster strategy, but it just uses the vector path and still varies the power in the areas that it needs to create a feasible laser picture toolpath. So we'll go ahead and just preview that. And as you can see, you can create some really nice stylized effects with your own custom vector paths. This one actually kind of reminds me a bit of a vinyl record, and the detail really shows when you have it at certain angles. So I quite like the way that it obscures depending on which angle you're looking at it from. Another quick tip with the laser picture strategy as well, if the result is a bit faint and you don't want to change your laser settings because you know they work in real life, then you can just run the simulation a couple of times, and that'll just thicken it up just to allow you to check over the toolpath in to make sure that you're happy with it prior to sending it to the machine. And that concludes our rundown of the laser picture strategy within Vectric Spark. So I hope you found the video useful, and thank you very much for watching.